guys? This is Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 87. Here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, man?
Coming in hot, Phil. Doing great. How are you, man?
Coming in hot, yeah. I mean, what is that? Some kind of dig at my energy level here? You want to bring it down?
Fired up, huh? Ready
I'm
to go?
fired up, bro. There's so much to discuss today. Here's what's on tap. Real quick, guys, we've got our UFC Vegas 16 recap and review. Marvin Vettori versus Jack Hermansson. Wow, what a phone booth main event fight that one was. Then it's on to UFC 255 preview and picks. Then we've got a special little news section, a lot of news in the combat sports world this week. And after that, moving on to my favorite section, listener questions and more. But Fight Geek, I'd like to start the episode off with this question for you. So at UFC Vegas 16, we saw Marvin Vettori on, I believe, approximately 1 week's notice, maybe even less, go 5 rounds with Jack Hermansson in what was just a brutal back-and-forth phone booth, mostly just boxing match, essentially, perhaps kickboxing. And we saw Vettori get through that one. I scored it 4 rounds to 1, but a lot of people scored that 3 rounds to 2, Vettori. I'm curious how you scored it, firstly, and secondly, what you think should be next for Marvin Vettori and who he should fight next at middleweight.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great fight. The night of the fight, I did score it 3 rounds to 2 for Vettori. Okay. I know rounds 3 and 4 were pretty close. I think 3 was a clear win for Jack. I think 4 there was a small case.
I gave Marvin 4. A lot of people pushed back though.
Yeah, so I think 4 is the only one that was really kind of up for debate. I think the 1, 2, and 5 clear for Marvin, 3 for Jack, and then 4 I guess can be made either way supposedly. I thought Marvin. I think we all kind of knew this was, possible. I just think we hadn't seen it yet against an elite level opponent, and he just really put it all together. His youth probably helped him in this instance, that he's young and he's, so ready to go, kind of, for lack of a better term, a young buck ready to go, which makes it easier for him on short notice because he's ready. He's eager to prove himself. He's been eager to prove himself. So I don't think that, Marvin Vettori at this stage of his career spends a lot of time outside of fight camp. I think that guy lives and breathes fighting, which I think played into him being able to take advantage of the short notice.
Yep, absolutely. Now, he called out Costa after, then he took it back a day later and said, no, screw that. He had a horrible loss. I want Izzy right now. Who do you think he should fight next?
I mean, the Costa fight makes a ton of sense. Marvin's going to take a huge jump in the rankings. He's going to go from 12 to probably 5 or 6. So he's going to be, in my estimation, a fight from a number 1 contender fight. So I think the Costa fight really lines up and makes a lot of sense. If you just really wanted to build on his success, you could give him a name like a Weidman or someone like that you feel like he would beat comfortably and gain a little steam. But otherwise, I think Costa really is the fight that makes sense. Costa is coming back towards him. He's ascending towards the top 5. It's kind of a prove-it fight. Both guys have that brooding, come-forward style, so they pretty much occupy the same space in the division, and we can just see who's the alpha of that style of the division. I personally think that Vettori has a little more nuance to his style now that I've seen him extended for 5 rounds. It was really impressive how, while he did wane in the 3rd, he was able to really kind of dial it back in and keep control of that fight.
Stay composed. Yep.
Jack was giving it his absolute all, and I think he showed something that we hadn't seen before, which was really his fighting spirit. He's been somewhat of a front runner, getting finishes, and then, somewhat falling behind against the big power guys. And this was a fight where it didn't go well for him, yet he really clawed back and showed a lot of fighting spirit. So I really feel like there's not much of a loser in this fight.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the updated UFC rankings actually just got updated just several hours ago. Marvin Vettori has climbed 8 spots to world number 5 contender at middleweight. 4 is Darren Till. 3 Cannonier, 2 Costa, 1 Whitaker. So I'm kind of looking at this now and thinking, what about Darren Till versus Marvin Vettori?
Yeah, Darren Till makes a ton of sense, but didn't he just make an announcement that he's going up another weight class, or was he just trolling?
I believe he was absolutely trolling with that one.
Well, he looked like he's about 225 pounds in that picture, so I couldn't tell.
Yeah, no, I mean it's always hard to tell with Darren Till. I just assume everything's a joke until it's formally announced by someone else.
I mean, that's a great fight right there too. I mean, yeah, I think that would be the less exciting matchup, because I think Costa and Vettori would go after each other. Obviously, Till's a lot more measured and technical. It would probably end up being a 5-round kind of war back and forth on the feet.
Devil's advocate though. So if they do Vettori versus Costa, you may have some very upset Robert Whitaker fans, right? They were talking about Costa Whitaker to determine a number 1 contender.
See, I don't think Costa's one fight from a belt. He was washed by the champion.
Yeah.
I would say he slides back 2 fights. I don't need him in a number 1 contender fight. I need to make sure that, he's not going to fold up and go away after having his first loss. He acted a little strange up to and after the loss. I need to see Costa back in there, and Vettori makes a ton of sense. Not Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker has already done his work. He's next in line at this point.
I don't disagree. Okay, all right. Fair enough. Really quickly, do we want to touch on anything else? Jamal Hill in the co-main event got the standing TKO against OSP at 3 minutes and 37 seconds of round number 2. He has now climbed to 8-0, and he wrote on Twitter, he's very excited. He is now ranked. He is the 15th ranked contender at light heavyweight as of a few hours ago.
Yeah, I mean, exciting new blood in 205. I think there's quite a bit of good matchups for him. OSP continues to just be an enigma of sorts, but I think that Hill took advantage of the areas he needed to take advantage of. OSP did not look sharp, in my opinion. He was getting by, but he did not look sharp, and it was impressive how Hill was able to close the show, because OSP does not get finished like that often. I think it'd been almost 5 years since he'd been finished. So, impressive stuff. Hill, he almost gives me, the Kevin Holland vibes. He's young, he's got length, he seems a little wise beyond his years in the cage, and very surprising. So, one to watch.
Absolutely. Just going through the card real fast. We don't have time to touch on much of it, but did want to quickly touch on Jordan Levitt's TKO KO slam of Matt Wyman, 22
brutal
seconds
stuff,
into
man.
round 1.
That was brutal.
Yeah. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you are about to get slammed, please let go. Rose Namajunas and Matt Wyman.
We gotta rewind it even further. Matt Wyman, why is he still getting booked in UFC fights? He has not been remotely competitive in the last 3 fights.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be cut before Christmas.
He should have never gotten these last 3 fights. We could segue into the Yoel Romero thing, who has 3 fights remaining on his contract, and the UFC finds him expendable.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. Don't worry.
You got a guy like Matt Wyman who's in there getting absolutely dominated and destroyed, who's getting his 3 fights. Like, what is going on? So bizarre. This guy did not deserve to be in the cage with a young, up-and-coming prospect like that. He had been dominated previously. So that's what happens when a guy shouldn't be in there. They can get hurt, and that was frightening. I mean, that looked like that was scary to watch.
I totally agree. And with that, let's actually segue to...
Hold on. Can we just give Ilya Topuria some love? Because he had a brutal finish that was...
Ilya Topuria climbed to 10-0, a Georgian fighter, knocking out Damon Jackson at 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
But this was just like a beautiful form of systematic violence. He came in there, was throwing crisp from the beginning. The footwork was there, the explosion, brutal finish. I mean, that was what you want to see from a top prospect. I can't wait to see who he fights next. Absolutely.
Anything else you wanted to call out on this card?
Nope, I think we're good there.
All right, okay. So let's segue then to the news segment, and there's a lot of news this week. Yoel Romero was cut from the UFC When asked about the decision, Dana White said that he had lost 4 of his last 5 fights, and that 60 more cuts were likely coming before Christmas. So I guess Merry Christmas from Dana. 60 fighters are getting a chunk of coal in their Christmas stockings. But do you agree with the Yoel Romero cut from the UFC? Obviously,
Well,
four of his last 5 fights have been title fights. 4 of his last 5.
I believe that there's still some uncertainty around whether this is like a mutual splitting or if he asked for it. Has there been any clarity on that?
It's hard to imagine it was a mutual split, especially since I'm not sure if you're aware, Bellator and the PFL have formally passed on Yoel at this point. The only organization thus far that has said they're interested is Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship.
So yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because Yoel Romero's clearly still, a top of the food chain fighter. But when you
he barely lost to Israel Adesanya, who no one else can even.
Just listen. So if you eliminate your love for the fighter and the style and all of that, and you just put it on a piece of paper and you look at it, and it's 46 years old. It's a guy that gets paid probably a heavy chunk relative to other fighters. It's a guy that's 0-3 in title fights, and the UFC probably does not want to see him in another title fight. I mean, I just think it sucks that he's gone because he's still one of the best fighters in the world, but from a business standpoint, if the UFC is making cuts, I think it actually makes sense if you're just looking at it on paper and not looking at it emotionally, like Yoel Romero, who's obviously a fan favorite and one of the best fighters in that division in the world today. But if you're running a business...
You think it's purely emotional, the people that have a problem with it? You think it's purely emotions?
Well, no, I mean, I think there's a case to keep a top 5 fighter all the time. But I think if the UFC is saying that they need to make 60 cuts, that means that they're trying to get rid of an exorbitant amount of payroll. So when you look at Yoel Romero on paper, 46 years old, I believe, 0-3 in title fights, which means he's gotten his shots. His last title shot, I believe...
He barely lost to Adesanya. You could run that back.
We're not talking... You're not listening. On paper, Phil.
I understand.
0-3 on paper.
I understand. Actually, he's 1-3 in title fights on paper. He beat Luke Rockhold in an interim title fight, but he did not get that title.
Which he missed weight, which is
right.
Another
he missed weight and didn't get the title.
So he's technically had 4 opportunities to win a title in the UFC banner and failed to do so in all 4. And now he's advanced in his age of 46, probably making $250,000+ per fight, if not more. I don't remember what
which
his
he deserves.
Which he absolutely deserves. I'm just talking about from a business. If you're just looking at it on paper and you got to make cuts, this is the business world. You'll learn this someday, Phil. You gotta just
Thanks, man. In business school right now.
You don't look at the personality. You don't look at your biases. You look at the paper. He's 0-4 in his title opportunities. I mean, he is a freak of nature, and he's Yoel Romero, so I feel like this is sacrilege making a case against it, but it makes sense to me, honestly.
Okay, that's very fair. So here's my concern. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. My concern is Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, where if you recall a few weeks ago, everyone was saying, wow, Dana's being so nice with these contracts. He's really given a lot of underdogs a shot to compete and really make a name for themselves. I feel like I'm looking at it through a whole new lens now. The Contender Series clearly exists simply as a puppy mill to give a bunch of bums who don't deserve being in the UFC, if I'm being frank, just replacing all of the top fighters with them so they can save probably hundreds of millions of dollars on roster fees. But if they do that, they will lose everything that has made them the premier mixed martial arts promotion in the world. So I'm just wondering if you're concerned at all about that. I, for one, will never watch another Contender Series fight. I think anyone who does is a traitor to the sport, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think you're absolutely out of your mind. So hear me out here. Dana White has proven one thing.
You think I'm out of my mind? You're out of your mind.
Yes, just Dana White through The Ultimate Fighter gave us a whole generation of stars that then spawned another generation of stars and another generation of stars.
Yeah,
we can go through it over and over. We've already seen the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series start to develop stars here. So my point is that I don't understand why you're mad at the UFC for continuing to produce their own in-house stars when they've been doing it for 20 plus years with the Ultimate Fighter series. The whole first wave of UFC handpicked stars were Diego Sanchez, Forrest Griffin. Those were their own guys that you would have probably considered a bum.
So the cards have not been getting diluted in the last year.
I don't know what you mean by diluted, because
I mean, okay, what I mean is,
you see a guy like,
I mean no-name amateurs. That's what I mean.
No name. Oh, you mean guys like Fiziev? You mean guys like Roman Dolidze? Yusuf Zalal? They're bringing in so much young talent. The UFC doesn't want to be a shelter for 45-year-old plus fighters. Hence the reason Verdum is gone. Hence the reason Yoel Romero's gone.
Comparing Verdum and Yoel is just, it's so offensive I can't even put it into words.
Right. Well, yeah, Verdum's a former champion, right? Yoel's not. So what I'm saying is the UFC's not in the business of legends and old guy fights anymore. They are trying to usher in new waves of talent. And you know what? They'll usher in a guy from the Contender Series who will eventually be your favorite fighter, and you'll forget about all of this, because the UFC has proven over time that they can usher out a previous generation and usher in a new generation.
Okay,
They've done it 3 times over.
You told me a few minutes ago, maybe one day I'll understand how business works. Fight Geek, do you understand how business works in regards to the Contender Series? You really aren't concerned that Dana White is just going to pay these guys 8-8 because they're happy to be there and just dilute the entire brand with his Contender Series bums and then get rid of people like Yoel Romero? I don't understand
why you say Contender Series bums.
Because most of them are bums, Fight Geek. Let's just call it like it is, man. We both watch it every Tuesday. Most of those fighters suck, bro. They suck, okay? I'm saying it.
You don't understand. You are so... You talk
Most of those fighters suck.
You're the same guy who will say that a fight night card is amazing because it's stocked full of guys you've never heard of that are amazing fighters and put on great action fights. Those are the same guys you're saying suck right now.
No, they're not, because I watch that Contender Series and I see all of the contracts getting doled out to these people that didn't even get a stoppage. And now it's clear why. Because Dana wants to save money and dilute the brand of the UFC. And that's horrible. That's literally how promotions die.
I think that's diluting it.
You don't think it's diluting it to get rid... Okay, get rid of Yoel Romero. Now we'll make way for a guy who won a split decision on Contender Series. Okay, sounds good.
Yoel Romero's spot on the roster is not being taken by someone on the Contender Series. His spot was just filled by Marvin Vettori. There's no reason to pay Yoel Romero at 46 years old, 0-4 in his title opportunities, when you have a 27-year-old, fourth-ranked guy in the world ready to have his shot.
I'm glad you brought that up, Fight Geek. Okay, so let me ask you this. Who wins in Yoel Romero versus Marvin Vettori? I'd put $400 or more on Yoel. You know Yoel beats that ass.
I don't know that. Yoel has looked lackluster in a handful of his last fights.
His last fight was against Izzy Adesanya. A lot of people say he won it.
Won it? Oh, a lot of those
I mean, I don't agree with that, but it was 3-2.
To me, that was Yoel Romero yet again proving that while he may be the best middleweight in the world, I don't know why he didn't throw enough punches. He didn't assert himself. He wasn't himself whatsoever. So again, I don't care what people say. He lost that fight, and he lost that fight because he didn't
he lost. I do agree he lost. I'm just proving
he didn't have the fight IQ to figure out a way to attack Israel Adesanya. So let's just. I'm a big Yoel Romero fan. I'm going to follow him wherever he goes. I'm just saying, from UFC aspect, I don't think it's the end of the world that Yoel Romero, at his age, with his opportunities exhausted, goes somewhere else, and they usher in a new era of young guys who potentially could be the next wave of the best fighters in the world, which I'll put money on them that they are going to be.
All right. I happen to think that Dana White's Tuesday Night Contenders series is a farce, and it's nothing more than a puppy farm. It's a puppy farm to save the UFC money by signing a bunch of bums.
And the other thing about the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series is it brings up kids like Chase Hooper and Sean O'Malley.
Oh, Sean O'Malley, a real tough guy.
Well, the UFC is looking to add to their brand. All the Yoel Romero fans and the hardcores are going to watch no matter who's under the banner. They're ushering these new kids with these social media personas who are playing video games all day and recording themselves all day. You know why? Because that's what 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds do all day now.
I understand you. I guess what I just don't get from a business perspective on the UFC is they cut Yoel Romero. Bellator says no. I don't know how Scott Coker still has a job, by the way. Can we just talk about that? Scott Coker.
No, we can't.
Scott Coker said no to Yoel Romero. I want you to name 3 middleweights in Bellator right now. Name them. 3. Gegard Mousasi. Who else? You can't do it. No one can.
Carvalho.
Okay, name a third. You can't do it.
Does Machida count?
No. Light heavyweight.
Okay. All right.
But my point is, I don't know how Scott Coker still has a job turning down Yoel Romero. That, he's lost me completely.
Honestly, don't you think, I mean, Yoel and Bare Knuckle FC would just be insane to see. But don't you think Yoel almost fits better in like a Ryzen or over in Japan 1?
I think he fits perfectly in bare knuckle.
He fits perfectly anywhere, to be honest.
He fits perfectly anywhere, but think of what the UFC just did. Take Bare Knuckle FC, right? They're a promotion that's viewed as pretty trashy. They often make mistakes. They're not that popular.
Kelly, you view them as trashy. Don't
do you? You're a big BKFC fan? Oh, that's interesting. You're usually the opposite.
You're the one buying all the pay-per-views, and then you call them trashy?
Whoa. Okay, so you're okay. All right, hey man, I appreciate what bare knuckle fighting does.
I appreciate fighters if they're willing to get in a bare knuckle FC ring and take bare knuckles to the forehead. Then
okay,
yes,
well then we're not even disagreeing. Here's my point. My point, Fight Geek, is what the UFC and Dana just did is they literally took a dying promotion in BKFC and they just handed them a giant get out of free card. If I'm the owner of BKFC, I'm saying pay Yoel whatever it takes. We'll figure it out later, and just make him the champ.
Yeah, of course. And then they're gonna have Paige Van Zandt.
I mean, I think that's a lesser big deal. If I'm being honest, she doesn't have the fan base of Yoel Romero.
Social media, I'll tell you right now, Paige Van Zandt 10-7s Yoel Romero as far as marketing and notoriety goes.
Do you think she's got more fans in the combat sports community than Yoel does?
She has more fans worldwide.
Okay, well, there's no reason to even argue this. The point is they're both... Yeah, I mean,
what I'm saying is from a personality standpoint and from just a media standpoint, I'm sure Paige Van Zandt, who just got a heavy chunk from them, would be a better get than Yoel Romero.
My point is, why is the UFC doing this? Why would they allow...
I just explained to you why. Because they've already proven that they can develop their own in-house talent to stars. They've done it.
I think I understand what you're saying. The disagreement...
Sean O'Malley probably would get more pay-per-view buys and a headliner than Yoel Romero this weekend.
Tough had legit fighters. Dana White's Contender Series is not comparable, Fight Geek. It's a bunch of bums because the regional scene has come to a halt. There are no regional fights anymore.
Lifelong martial artists. I mean, I don't understand what you're saying there. Some of these people got 20-plus fights in regional MMA, which is tough. I mean, people
100% that's tough.
MMA, you want to go fight on a regional scene where shady characters and all kinds of, you're not making big money and you're just doing it for the love. It's hard to fight on that level. And then you get your opportunity in front of Dana White. No, I don't agree with you there at all. I think I use Sean O'Malley because he's become a big media star from that platform. And that's what the UFC wants. The UFC wants top 15 guys in each division. They want them all to have personalities. They want them all to talk crap, and they want them all to go to war on the feet. I mean,
yeah, I understand. I just think if you take a top 10 middleweight worldwide, forget about promotion, in Yoel Romero, which he is absolutely top 10, arguably top 5 worldwide, and you cut him, and now he has to join a hybrid sport in bare knuckle FC. You're not just damaging the UFC, you're damaging mixed martial arts.
Well,
do you disagree?
I can't disagree with that point. If he goes to bare knuckle FC, it is a loss for mixed martial arts. 100%.
That's the only offer he's gotten. Bellator passed because Scott Coker apparently doesn't know how to promote.
We'll see how that plays out. There's a lot of public posturing. I'm sure Yoel Romero's demanding a pretty penny. I'm sure he's asking for a ton.
As he should, frankly.
Yeah, well, this is how it goes. So there's going to be some public negotiating. We'll see where he goes. I can't see him signing with Bare Knuckle FC. It wouldn't make sense, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And just really quickly,
You saying they're dying, but if they're able to outbid everybody, if they're
no,
able
they're
to
not going to be dying if they get Yoel. Oh no, that'll save them completely. Let me be clear.
Well, how's that going to save them completely?
Because every single Yoel,
with Yoel.
I'm going to be watching them, and you're going to be watching them, and a whole lot of other people are going to be watching them.
Yeah, but you and I are already watching them.
I don't watch every BKFC.
Liar.
I don't.
All right.
Okay.
Anyways.
All right, moving on.
We got so off topic.
No, it's just a piece of news. Moving on to another piece of news. Guys, I don't usually like to break the fourth wall, but Fight Geek, before this episode, called me personally and requested that I make sure to bring up this piece of news. He's very passionate about it. He wants to talk about it a lot. Is Floyd Mayweather fighting Logan Paul February 20th of 2021. Fight Geek is very excited. He loves the fight, and he said, listen to me,
First
Phil.
all,
Logan's going to knock him out.
It's an exhibition.
All right. So wait, what do you make of this honest, complete farce? What do you make of this? What is this? This is the state of boxing. We've come to Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather.
Well, the only thing that it proves is that Floyd stays winning because he's going to get paid.
What I think is interesting, though, and I still don't understand why they did this, is they booked. So there's two Paul brothers, of course. There's Logan and Jake. Jake Paul is Jake Paul's the one who about a week ago at Tyson Jones Jr. on the undercard or the co-main, he brutally knocked out Nate Robinson, and he's 2-0 with 2 knockouts. Sounds like if you're trying to make a circus fight, that's a good person to put up against Floyd, right? No.
Yeah.
They do it against the older brother Logan. Logan got famous by filming dead people in a Japanese suicide forest on YouTube. Then he called out.
So what you're going to say that Floyd's ducking Logan, aren't you?
No. Let me explain. Then Logan called out his YouTube rival, who is a not African American, a British black rapper who was popular on YouTube, KSI. Fought him twice, couldn't get a win either time. He could not defeat KSI. He's 0-1-1, and now he's fighting Floyd Mayweather. He has not won a single boxing match in his life.
You've already wasted more breath on it than I want to. I'm not going to buy it. I don't care about it.
But it has to be discussed whether we like it or not, Fight Geek, because this is the combat sports world, and this is the big news of the week.
Okay, well, it's an exhibition.
So is boxing dead for good?
Absolutely not. This has nothing to do with boxing. If you
it has everything to do with boxing. This is boxing.
It was on last Saturday. Spence versus Garcia. I'm sure you didn't watch that because you think Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather's boxing.
Nice try. I did watch Spence Garcia. What do you want to test me on there?
And how do you not know the difference?
Oh, I know the difference. Spence Garcia was Spence easily winning a boring decision and then saying he was never going to fight Crawford, and then Crawford saying the same. So they're both never going to fight.
As usual. My point is that's not boxing. That's just some freak show exhibition that'll be fun. Kind of like.
So you're going to buy it?
I will not buy that, no. Because you guys who are going to buy it don't understand that you keep giving Floyd all your money.
I'm not buying that. Are you kidding me?
Quit giving Floyd your money for anything.
You think I'm buying Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul?
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
The worst part is I'm lying, and you're right. I am buying it.
That's because you have no.
It's $25 right now. It's honestly a smart business. No, but jokes aside, they have a very smart business plan. I'd love to hear quickly your thoughts on this. This isn't even about the matchup. So they have a very smart, very new pay-per-view strategy where they say the first 1 million people to buy it will get it for $25. And then after that, it doubles in price. And then if you buy it the night of, it's $75. This is interesting to me. This might be fascinating.
Very interesting to me, and it's a great way to gauge your pay-per-view sales up front. So I think
think about it. Like if you're me or you, I mean, isn't it really tempting to get it for that 25, knowing it'll be 75 on the night? I mean, that's
or even be like, Dana White, week of the fight, being able to be like, yo, we've already sold 1 million pay-per-views for this.
Yup.
You know what? So it would be. I think it's cool. would be interesting. I don't know if the UFC wants to give any away, especially considering they have a pro rate through ESPN, so it's kind of null and void for UFC, but I do think it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And last question on this fight, this horrible fight. How many pay-per-view buys do you think it'll do?
Well, Tyson Jones did 1.2. This will do 1.5 with Floyd.
Gosh. More than UFC 251. Unbelievable. Unreal.
It is unbelievable.
Yep. I unfortunately I think 1.5 is a very accurate guess. I agree. Okay, so are we ready to move on
Can we break down the super card that we have and quit talking about this trash?
Well, you cut me off. I said, are we ready to? And then you cut me off. I was saying, break down UFC 255, 255, or 256. Shoot. I wrote 255 because it's got Figgy. That's so funny. 256. Are we ready?
Clever, Phil. Let's go.
Okay, all right. So look, let's we're gonna start with the prelims real quick. There are some interesting fights. I don't want to cover too many of them, mostly because, frankly speaking, I think the vast majority of these are gonna fall through due to COVID. I'm sorry if that's a negative Nancy thing to say, but that's just how I see it going. But we've got the prelim.
You tend to take the glass half empty approach.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. The prelim main event is Cub Swanson, 26-11 versus Daniel Pineda, 27-13. Who you got?
I like this fight. Two older guys, been around forever. Cub Swanson, even though he's taken a couple of losses, he always comes out and looks crisp on the feet. Taking a little bit of extended time off. I'm expecting Cub Swanson to come in and look very good in a return fight here. I'm taking Cub Swanson by second round TKO. I
got Daniel Pineda via unanimous decision. All right.
Nice. It's a fun one, though. This card is just stacked.
Absolutely. First fight of the main card, Junior Dos Santos versus 6-0 Frenchman Cyril Gagne. Or Cyril Gagne. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it.
It's Cyril Gagne. But
okay,
this is a tough one. I think you can make a case either way. Obviously, Gagne doesn't have a ton of experience, and Dos Santos does. But the fact that Dos Santos has been stopped in 3 straight fights just kind of tells you which way his career seems to be trending at this point. I got to take Gagne by stoppage here.
I also take Gagne by second round submission. That's how I see it. Okay. Next we've got Kevin Holland versus Jacare Souza.
Yeah, I mean, goodness, this fight is just...
Isn't that a great fight?
Such a great fight. Such a tough one because when you look at the names, you go, well, Jacare is going to win that. But when you really dive in and see where each guy's been, I think Kevin Holland may have closed that gap. I think he's probably got the better gas tank. He's got the longer, more versatile strikes. If he can stay off the mat, which I think he's pretty tricky, but again, this is Jacare, I'm going to lean Kevin Holland in a decision here.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think that's very fair, and I've also got Kevin Holland by unanimous decision. All right, so
yeah, that's a tricky fight. The action's going to be intense because if it goes to the ground, you know Jacare has a chance to win that no matter what.
Absolutely. Moving on to Renato Moicano versus Rafael Fiziev. This is a 155 lightweight bout.
Yes, I like this one. Again, these fights are all just
they're
all
fun.
Very good. Easy to make cases both ways, but again, I'm going to go with Renato Moicano, and I'm going to take him, let's say, via decision.
We disagree again. I got Rafael Fiziev via split decision.
Yeah, it's going to be close. All right, let's get to the
Let's go to the co-main event. Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. Really quick, wanted to touch on this. I'm not sure if you saw my Twitter. I know that I'm muted by you. But I can speak to this. I have multiple sources in the UFC who have confirmed this. This is 100% true. Charles Oliveira's team reached out to the UFC brass. what's today? Today's Tuesday night, so not yes. Okay, so Sunday night, late Sunday night, they reached out to the UFC. They told them that Charles was unlikely to be able to make 156, and that he's likely to come in at 158 or 159. Somehow Tony Ferguson got a hold of this information, and today he issued a proclamation / warning saying, if Charles comes in more than a few pounds overweight, I'm not fighting him. What are your thoughts on Tony saying that, and Charles apparently telling the UFC that he has no intention of making weight?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't understand how he has. Why are they letting him know a week in advance? It makes no sense.
It reminds me a lot of Joanna versus Michelle Watterson, if you recall.
Continue cutting. You have time. Why are you notifying us now?
I think that's a great question, Fight Geek, and I think the answer is, well, Oliveira's, obviously doing it on purpose.
Right? And while I would hate to lose this matchup because I absolutely love this matchup, I think that off principle, I don't want Tony Ferguson to take the fight. Tony Ferguson's taken the short end of the stick way too many times. This is an elite Hall of Fame type championship level fighter who deserves to have full fight camps. He deserves to fight people who are on weight. He deserves anything an elite fighter should go up against. So while it would suck to lose this fight, I appreciate the fact that he said that, because make weight. I mean, Oliveira's a former 145 fighter. He was forced to move up to 155 because he kept missing weight. So make 155. This is...
Yeah, and a lot of people have, by the way, responded to my tweet saying, Charles has never missed weight at 155. Thanks, guys. I also have Wikipedia. I'm insinuating that Charles is doing this on purpose. Let me be very clear.
When he has missed weight, I believe 4 or 5 times at 145.
Yeah, of course. He's always missing weight. He's unprofessional. But you can see how he'd be looking to get an advantage off Tony by, let's say, weighing in at 159 or 160, and knowing that he's assuming, Tony's Tony. He'll take the fight. And if Charles's plan was that, then he's an absolute disgrace and a complete coward.
The thing about it is that Tony's way naturally larger, especially since Oliveira is a former 145er.
It's pathetic stuff. It's pathetic stuff.
Tony Ferguson could fight at 170 comfortably. So
Paul Felder made weight against RDA and went 5 rounds in what, 6 days?
So hopefully this is a lot about nothing and Oliveira makes weight. With that said, can we break down the fight now?
Yeah, absolutely. Who you got?
Well, I just think Tony Ferguson's too much for him. I think he's going to come back hungry. The thing about losses is that you can really learn from them, reignite your fire. Tony kind of had the same tune throughout his winning streak and kind of said the same things and kind of did the same things. I think a setback for him kind of refocused him. I can't wait to see the version we get. You can already tell he's kind of got a chip on his shoulder by putting out that statement to Oliveira, kind of being like, no funny business, show up, let's do this. So he's got his new management. I think Tony is just trending up. I think people have forgotten about Tony Ferguson because of his recent results versus Justin Gaethje. And even there, he got the short end of the stick. He cut weight twice. He prepared for a strictly grappler in Khabib. Still took a fight against Justin Gaethje.
Still knocked him down badly in the second. Even Gaethje said he almost got knocked unconscious.
Right. So people want to act like Tony Ferguson's washed, and he may not be his absolute prime version of himself. He's going to be hungrier than absolute ever right now to come back. Charles Oliveira, is an extremely tricky athletic guy. He's found ways out of fights before, and Tony Ferguson is going to make you kill him in there. So I don't see Tony Ferguson getting submitted. With that being said, I think he takes Charles Oliveira to the woodshed and eventually stops him via TKO in the 3rd round.
Ooh, that would be glorious. So my pick is a little bit complicated in that I'm making 2 picks. One, if Charles weighs in at the fair weight of 156 or less, and another if he misses weight. If he weighs in fairly at 156, I do believe that Tony will get the unanimous decision nod. I don't think he'll finish him. I think he'll get very close to finishing Charles, but will get that unanimous decision nod. If Charles comes in slightly over 156, which I think he will, I don't think he'll come in at 159 or 160. I think he'll come in at 158, 158.5, 157.5. I think that people might be saying that's just 1.5, 2 pounds. Guys, if you've never cut weight before, it's fine, but those last few pounds make all the difference. If Charles cheats, if he decides to cheat and miss weight on purpose, I do think that he will defeat Tony Ferguson, and it breaks my heart to say it. So I hope to God that if Charles is even,
So you're saying
if Charles is even 0.1 over 156, I hope to God that Tony doesn't take the fight, because that's cheating.
Well, there you have it, folks. I think Tony's going to end up taking the fight anyways, but I think Oliveira's going to make 156. I have a feeling.
Yeah, the whole thing sucks too, because I was a fan of Charles, and now I obviously am never going to be a fan of him again. So the whole thing, it's just a bummer, because I liked the guy, I didn't think he was a cheater.
You'll like him again someday, don't worry.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so moving on to the main event, the UFC Flyweight Champion. We've got Davison Figueiredo, the God of War, 20-1, the champion, against Brandon Moreno, one of your favorite fighters.
Assassin.
What was that?
I said the baby assassin.
The baby assassin, exactly. So,
no, the assassin baby.
The assassin baby. How can we get that wrong? So, I'll break it down first, just because you've been breaking down the others. I think that Figueiredo is going to get the finish early in the second round. I think Moreno's going to show a lot of heart, and then Figgy's going to break him early in the second and get the submission in that second round. But would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously Brandon Moreno's probably on my top 10 list right now of my personal favorites on the roster. So a huge fan of him, his fight style, his toughness, his grit. He's tricky. I think he'll last a while, but I just think the power difference is going to be significant. And I think fourth round TKO for Figueiredo in what will be a fun back and forth fight, because I do believe that Moreno offers more versatility coming back at Figgy than he's seen in his previous two fights.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think.
I think Joe's a little too short to really threaten. I think Moreno's a little longer with his strikes. Will use his kicks more.
And we know Moreno isn't scared of getting punched in the face, to his credit.
That's why
he's a tough guy.
He'll succumb to his willingness to scrap in the fourth round, because Figgy's power is going to overwhelm him. And that's exactly it. I agree with you. He doesn't mind getting into a firefight. I just don't know if he's got as much fire as Figgy, because he hits hard.
So you think Moreno's going all the way to round 4, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Moreno's got that Mexican fighting spirit. He's tough. He can take a shot. He recovers well. He can improvise if he's in trouble. He's good off his back. Like I said, he strikes long with kicks, so he can threaten early. I think he'll definitely be game, but Figgy's just will eventually just overpower him with the strikes, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
it has the potential to be an unbelievable action fight.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what people don't give Figueiredo enough credit for is, he's so good at hurting you on the feet, making you uncomfortable on the feet, but then people don't give him credit for the ground game, because what happens is someone will start fighting Figgy. They're getting very hurt, badly hurt, striking with him. So they go for a takedown, they somehow try to bring it to the ground, and it never works out. I mean, it goes horribly wrong. Figgy just makes that a submission. You're hurt, you've lost your composure, okay, great, you're getting submitted. So I can see the same thing happen with Brandon. I think once he gets truly injured, which I think will come as early as the second round, I think he's going to shoot in desperately, and Davison Figueiredo's just going to, he's either going to snatch a neck or something, and he's gonna get that brutal sub.
I will say this, though. If Brandon Moreno pulls this off, I'll be a Nick Diaz level stan of his.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, Moreno, yeah, to be clear.
If he were to pull this off and become
Wait, I don't want to talk about it too much. We've got a listener question.
All right. Let's keep it moving. Let's get into listener questions now.
All right. So, guys, we're going to take a really quick break, and we'll be right back with listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 87, here with my brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek, and it is now time for my favorite section of all, and that is Listen Up! Thank you.
All right, let's get it.
Okay, all right. So, do we want to jump to the most appropriate question, the one from Dean Dog, my man at Dean Dog 3. He says, "How big will it be if Moreno actually beats Figgy?" Hashtag AskSplitPod.
It'll be big. I'm not sure that it'll be huge like a Conor McGregor level, superstar personality, but I mean, it would be big. I know the UFC
I think it'd
is
be
always.
huge. Oh my gosh, huge.
Yeah, it'll be big, especially to have a Mexican champion that's kind of, able to really connect with that crowd, because I think they really tried to do that with Kane, and that never really capitalized on that market the way they wanted to. So yeah, it would be big. I don't know, like I said, that it would be Conor McGregor big, but yeah, it would be super cool.
It would be a huge upset, right? I mean, Figgy is
Oh
a
yeah, it
minus
would be a
300
big
favorite.
upset at this point. Definitely a huge upset. I mean, Figgy looks like a dominant future, like reigning champion, no doubt. So I think it would be a big upset. Would it be the biggest upset ever? No. Would there be an immediate rematch? I'm sure there would, and it could potentially set up for an amazing trilogy rivalry, all belts.
Yeah.
So there could be a lot attached to it. So it's really big.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think that, to answer your question, Dean, I think it'd be a huge upset. Again, perhaps not as big as a Conor McGregor moment, but honestly, what moments are as big as Conor McGregor moments?
You know what? This goes back to prove my point earlier about the UFC potentially creating superstars. Brandon Moreno was an Ultimate Fighter reject who got kicked off the show.
I remember.
Took the fight on short notice, has turned himself into a legitimate title challenger, and if he were to win the title and become a homegrown champion through the Ultimate Fighter series, that just goes to show you that the UFC can take a young guy, give him some opportunities, and build him up into a world champion and have the narrative change from an unheard of to a truly elite fighter. So,
just quickly playing devil's advocate again, that's tough, which I've never accused of being a puppy mill for profit, not Contender Series.
Well, Contender Series is 2 years old, Phil. Give it a little time to breathe, and trust me, it'll produce a champion.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, yeah. So moving on to the next question. This is from our man, Eduardo, at Landa Crew. Love Eduardo. A true Split Podcast OG. He says, I love this question. Are you guys blocked by any fighters on social media? And if so, how many and why? Hashtag AskSplitPod. Fight Geek, start us off while I try to decide.
My answer's boring. I am not blocked by anyone on Twitter, to my knowledge.
What?
So.
Wait, what?
Yep.
I don't even believe you.
I am not blocked by one person.
You're not blocked by one person.
I am not. I toe that line. I keep it clean.
You gotta be on Twitter more, loser.
My
name's Fight Geek. I have a wife and a successful job. Ooh,
yeah.
loser.
I only check in for the fight. Sorry, man, not to go ahead.
Okay, well, wow, someone's entire life isn't built off of a social media platform.
Bill, how many people have you blocked?
No, it's not about me blocking. It's how many have blocked me, I thought.
That's what I mean. How many have you blocked?
Oh, yeah, I see. Don't really want to necessarily tell the truth on this one, but I guess I kind of awkwardly have to because I didn't really think of a clever way to get out of it. How do I explain this? Okay, Dustin Poirier has me blocked because I used to be an Eddie Alvarez fan, and I deeply regret it, obviously, because he's anti-mask and doesn't believe COVID's real. So I'm very sorry that I backed Eddie Alvarez, Dustin. Please forgive me. I do apologize. I did talk shit to you inappropriately during the run-up to the rematch with Eddie. I'm sorry for having Eddie's back. Eddie is dead to me.
You talking shit inappropriately? Never.
No, I apologize. I apologize for having Eddie's back. It was a disgrace. Moving on. I've got more. Unfortunately, Mr. McGregor has blocked me. Mr. McGregor blocked me after I did retweet, not post, but retweet the video of the extremely ugly woman who had just had sex with him, dancing and celebrating them having intercourse while he was passed out. I do apologize, Connor. I hope I didn't cause any damage to your marriage. But I know you blocked me for that because some coward CC'd you on the post. Sorry, I wasn't trying to diss you. But
all right. I have a feeling this is going to take a while.
it's going to take a really long time.
How about we do your top 5?
On a serious note, those are like the only two.
Okay, fair. I'm sure Megan Anderson has you blocked.
Oh, Megan Anderson has me blocked. You know who does not have me blocked? And on a serious note, this has legit given me I've honestly have respect for them for this, is John Jones. And I get it. I know people say, well, you're muted. I get that. I know. But guess what? I am expert in muting. And I know for a fact that just because you're muted doesn't mean you can break through mutes. I promise you can break through mutes. So the fact that John Jones hasn't blocked me yet is impressive.
Well, I mean, just imagine John Jones's notifications. I mean, 60% of them got to be just you.
I talk shit every post and I have for years. And he hasn't blocked me, and he's blocked others. And you know what? I have to respect it. I respect it.
All right. Well,
so that's it. Poirier and McGregor.
I'm sorry. Maybe I should do something more controversial or disrespectful to someone. I'll think about it.
Yeah, so anyways, that's my answer. It's Poirier and McGregor. Sorry, Dustin. I'm not sorry, Connor. I don't know why you slept with that person. It's not my fault. Okay.
Well, like you've never.
I mean, I have, but I'm also not Conor McGregor. I don't know if I would have if I was Conor, you know?
You would have.
Maybe. Okay, all right, moving on. This question from Cyrus King. Love Cyrus, my man. He says, Izzy just got his purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. How dangerous do you think this makes him? I love this question.
I mean, it makes him more dangerous for sure. I
don't know if even Cyrus, I think he meant it tongue-in-cheek. Does it actually make him more dangerous just because he got a symbolic gesture?
Oh, well, no. I mean, I think it makes him better to continue progressing in his jiu-jitsu, for sure.
I mean, for sure. But he's always been...
We've seen him throw up surprising attempts at submissions and be fairly...
Against Gastelum, he almost had it.
So I'm saying that was surprising. So for him to be belted again and continue improving definitely adds to the ways he can beat you, because not a lot of people are going to want to stay on the feet for the duration of a fight with him. So the stronger he gets there, the more dangerous it makes him. Come on, Phil.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I guess all I'm saying is I don't think it was necessary that he even get that belt. I think that belts, especially when you're in the UFC, especially when you're an undefeated champion, man, who cares what your beat? Isn't Khabib a BJJ white belt? We've seen how much of a joke that is. I believe Khabib is a white belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, by the way.
It's good to know.
So, right. No, I'm just saying, I don't know how much that really stands for anything because of that.
That's true.
Okay, so...
But I do contend that it does show that they're continuing to progress.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I wouldn't have thought that Izzy would stop working on his BJJ, if he didn't get a belt, but I definitely agree with you. I think it's a good sign. Okay, this question from @Yugi MMA. Love this guy, even though he's a Jones fan. Yugi, I forgive you, bro. What release have you disagreed with thus far? Well, there's been two recent ones, Yoel Romero and Rachel Ostovich. And I can tell you that 60% of the reason I watched MMA was because of Yoel Romero and Rachel Ostovich. So
that's such a lame excuse. Like Rachel Ostovich is 4-6. You really think she should have been kept around? Honestly,
okay, you want me to speak honestly about it?
yeah.
She's tough. She's got a great punch. She's got great power.
Great punch.
She suffered from the wrong gyms, probably a lack of work ethic.
How many people come to the UFC at 3-5 or whatever she was?
Let me put it this way. You know where she would truly be a superstar, like truly fight geek, is bare knuckle fighting.
Again, what I'm saying is when you put it down on paper and you don't look at Rachel Ostovich and you just see a 4-6 fighter.
Have you seen her in a G-string thong? Have you seen her in a white G-string?
Everybody she's fought.
You're not even considering how she looks in a white G-string.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. The UFC's rosters, still looks fine. So
Yeah.
I think they'll be all right. There's all kinds of different good-looking women on the UFC's roster.
Yeah, but Rachel was, what a beauty. I'm honestly pissed. Yuki, I'm pissed.
I can't get over the 4-6. If you guys all want to kind of, oogle over her because she's good looking, but that does not make her UFC quality fighter. There's nothing about what she does that's UFC quality.
I know, but I guess, I agree with you, Fight Geek.
Why not go to Bellator and fight against girls who are her skill level? I think that's much better than her fighting once a year in the UFC and getting washed by someone who's not even good.
I just see so many UFC fighters who don't deserve to be there. Cough, cough, the Contender Series. Contender Series.
Name one person that deserves to be there less than a 4-6 fighter who's never won in the UFC.
Matt Wyman.
Matt Wyman has wins in the UFC. It may be a decade ago, but the guy's got 16 pro wins.
I don't want to see him in a white G-string. I want to see Rachel in one, so there's a difference.
If that's your argument, then whatever. All right.
Fikey's getting so mad.
You're proving my point right there.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm not getting mad. I think she should go to Bellator and fight girls that she can be competitive with.
I don't think Bellator is going to take her. Scott Coker does not want to be viewed.
Why would Bellator not take her?
I'll tell you why. Because Scott Coker does not want to be viewed as a capable promoter. He turned down Yoel Romero.
They have a Hawaiian champion. They've done cards in Hawaii before. That's a no-brainer for them to pick her up, especially considering, I've said multiple times, her talent level will fit right in over there. She'll have a chance to win fights because in the UFC, she really can't.
Make Ostovich versus Paige Van Zandt in BKFC. You'll sell 2 million pay-per-views.
Again, you'll be buying it. All right, let's keep it moving.
You won't buy that? You're not going to buy Ostovich PVZ?
I'm not going to buy Paige Van Zandt.
Wow,
I
what a
can
loser.
miss that one. I'll see the still shots after the fact on social media.
All right, make sure you get some of those video shots because some stuff might be... Never mind. All right, never mind.
Female listeners, let's keep it moving, dude.
All right, you got a question?
Sure, got one from Glitch.
Glitch, what up? MMA Port, what up?
Ask Smith Pod, with the UFC trimming the roster, what other high-profile fighters should the UFC cut? It's a tough question.
And I like how he clarified with should cut. Because that's...
Should, yeah. So I think...
Cowboy.
The no-brainer is Mike Perry. Mike Perry should be cut.
And he won't be, because Dana gave him a very awkward...
He's a high-profile guy that should get cut.
Dana loves him.
Luke Rockhold should be cut.
Luke Rockhold should be cut.
To be honest with you...
Yeah. Chris Weidman, I don't care that he had a horrible win. He had a horrible lay-in
Chris
pray
Weidman has a win recently.
Yeah, against in a lay-in pray pathetic manner.
It doesn't matter. He has a win recently. He's a former champion. I'm against cutting former belt holders personally, but I think that should save you and give you quite a long leash, like Anderson Silva got with like 8 losses in a row.
So Cowboy's at 5 fights in a row where he hasn't gotten a win.
Cowboy, in my opinion, certainly could be on the chopping block, but I don't think you ever cut your all-time wins leader who's active. That's like That's like cutting Drew Brees or something when he's old, who's still out there putting up statistics, because Cowboy Cerrone means something historically to the UFC. Is he a top flight guy? No. Is he going to win a belt? No. Is he getting washed by younger competition? Yes, but he's still an all-time record holder who is going to be in the Hall of Fame and deserves to ride out his roster spot based on the fact that he's an all-time wins leader.
Yeah, okay, so fair. That's fair, Vikey. Let me ask you this question. So how long do you ride him out? How long do you play along? Because right now he's 0-5. So he's flirting with the BJ Penn.
Indicator, it's somewhere around 7 or 8.
So you want him to get literally as bad as BJ Penn. I mean, BJ Penn destroyed his entire legacy.
I didn't say. No, it's not.
BJ Penn destroyed his legacy.
BJ Penn, there's been lots of guys who go on these horrendous slides to end their career. And you know what we still do? We think back to their prime. We think back to their highlights. It's not like we see them as the 40-year-old, 38-year-old versions of themselves. We do on the fight nights when they look old, but we never think back and remember them that way. At least I don't. I still remember BJ Penn beating the brakes off Diego Sanchez and Sean Shirk. I don't think of him as the guy who couldn't beat Ryan Hall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think of both. I remember those incredible wins, and then I remember the incredible losses.
But the downfall doesn't take away from the incredible wins, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's very much
Cowboy
up for debate.
Cowboy has 26 UFC wins or 23 or something crazy like that.
No, I'm aware of his accomplishments. I just know he's 0-5 in his last 5.
2 or 3 more losses will never change that.
No, and they shouldn't. But do you just keep someone on for, 10 more fights just because of what they accomplished, in 2003?
Well, personally, like I said, I think 5. If you're 0 for your last 5, I think that retirement conversation should be extremely serious. But like I said, the UFC seems to give, based on Anderson Silva and BJ Penn, 7 or 8. They're willing to really go deep. I mean, Chuck Liddell, didn't he lose like 5 of his last 6 or something? So we're almost at the end of the road with Cerrone, but
Cerrone is not a former champion. He never won any belts.
But he's the all-time wins leader, which is the equivalent almost.
Okay.
Because you couldn't tell me, much about. Let's put it this way. So, someone who's held a belt, let's say Dave Menez's title in the UFC, which is irrelevant more or less.
Yeah.
Is not going to be weighed in history the way the all-time wins leader Donald Cerrone will be. I bet there's many title runs that won't be weighed that way. Carlos Condit's interim belt, what's more impressive, that or Donald Cerrone's all-time wins record?
Well, Cerrone's, but Condit Condit's a bad example because he arguably should have been champ.
So let's say this then, Dustin Poirier's interim championship or Donald Cerrone's all-time wins. Historically, what matters more?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure you're going to win that argument.
I'm positive that I'm going to win that argument.
I feel like Poirier's interim belt might win more.
The all-time wins leader will stand the test of time. An interim champion for 7 months in 2019, people will forget about.
Okay, that's fair. Look, that's fair. I guess all I'm saying is, where does it end with Cowboy? Do you just let him?
I'm saying
you just let him lose as many as he wants.
Yeah, he's going out on the Chuck Liddell shield. That's clear.
Well, he's already 0-5, so he's already on the Chuck Liddell shield.
It's up for the people who clear the fighter. It's up to the organization, and it's up to the fighter to make that decision. But I would say if he goes out and gets stopped in his next fight and loses 6 in a row, then yes, I think it's probably done. But we're in that range. I don't know what you're asking me. There shouldn't be a uniform solution for every fighter.
No, I agree. Okay, any other fighters you think should be cut? I'll go real quick. Brad Tavares?
I like Brad Tavares. I think he's still kind of a
It's not about liking him. I mean, I'm just saying.
I know, but he's still 16, 17, 18. You don't like him to fight your upcoming prospects?
I mean, Yoel Romero's a top 10 middleweight in the entire world.
Yoel Romero probably makes 5 times more than Brad Tavares.
I'm just saying, I don't remember the last time I said, wow, look at that Brad Tavares moment.
You know who else? if Ryan Hall's never going to take a fight,
no, Ryan Hall absolutely should be on the chopping block for getting cut.
And let's see him go wrap people up in ONE FC or something like that.
And before everyone cries about Ryan Hall, really, by the way, I had lied when I said who had blocked me. I said it was Dustin and Connor, and that's it. It's also Ryan Hall, and I'm proud of that one. I called him a bitch for dissing Korean Zombie and trying to call Korean Zombie out and talking crap
but
about.
How can you do that when he would rip your head, arms, and limbs off and just leave?
Well,
your
it's
torso
simple because I'm not an MMA fighter, so of course he could kill me. I mean, he'd beat the crap out of me, and I'd happily,
it's just ridiculous for you to take shots at. He's not an MMA fighter. Come on.
No. Of course he's an MMA fighter, but the fact that he's calling out Korean Zombie is nothing short of disrespectful. Does he not know who he is? Does he have any sense of reality? Like, dude, learn your sport.
I don't think it's disrespectful. It just may not be realistic.
It's disrespectful and unrealistic.
You gotta shoot your shot. Why is it disrespectful?
Because he's basically saying, hey, Korean Zombie, I think we're equal and or I'm better. Fuck you and fuck everything you've accomplished. I don't care that my best win is against Darren Elkins. Fuck you, motherfucker. That's what he's saying.
And what's wrong with that in the fight game?
I just don't understand why he's so afraid to fight people that are around his own ranking. I know that's a crazy idea. He says they refuse. Well, guess what, bro? Take it up with Dana. Make them fight. I don't know, bro. That sounds like a you problem.
Right. Or just beat up a bunch of guys.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you. Exactly. Just keep winning. Just win and win and win. And then you will not be denied, Ryan Hall. But he doesn't want to do that.
If you look at Charles Oliveira right now, he's on like a 6 or 7 fight, maybe 6
fight
win
and
streak.
look where it's taken him against Tony friggin' Ferguson.
And if you look at the beginning, the names are kind of ragged. You get a Nick Lentz here, you get a so-and-so there, and then eventually you get to the Tony Fergusons when you keep winning.
I completely agree. Ryan Hall needs to just suck it up and just fight, man. Just get the W's. Look, nothing solves problems in MMA like winning. Just win. If you win and win and win, I promise you'll get your fights.
Yeah, just winning solves everything, and you can't.
Winning literally solves everything, especially in MMA.
So listen to this, just for a case in point. This is what Charles Oliveira, who was a grappling, dangerous guy, similar to Ryan Hall in that way. He had to go Clay Guida, Christos Giagos, Jim Miller, David Tamor, Nick Lynch, Jared Gordon, Kevin Lee, and now Tony Ferguson. You see that arc?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Christos Giagos and David Tamor aren't even on the roster anymore. So Ryan Hall just needs to start knocking off some nobodies and building. He only has 8 wins, I believe, or 10 wins in his career off the top of my head. Once you get to 14, 15, 16, 17 wins, they're not going to be able to overlook you. But when you're a guy with 8 wins and you're trying to fight a guy who's, a former title challenger with 22 decisions or something, it's just not, it doesn't seem realistic.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, so, all right.
All right.
Another one?
Pulling it up right now. Okay. This is from Breaking the Fourth Wall podcast. That's by my man Juice. Juice, what up? Love Juice. He said, if you were in charge of PR for the UFC, who's one female and one female fighter who you would choose to get extra push / marketing? The ones that get overlooked. Hashtag AskSplitPod. Wow. I love this question. Can I go first?
Are we going off like total package or just fighting?
I think we're going off total package. Like, who are they not marketing? They could be making money off marketing. I mean, so,
Well, let's name one woman they market now, period.
I mean, they market Amanda. No, I actually had a woman in mind. It's funny you say that. They
market Amanda? I've never seen the UFC do anything. Amanda has her...
Ask Amanda how much money she's made. I think she's doing well.
Well, that has nothing to do with it. Name one fighter that they have marketed.
Valentina.
Who?
Valentina. Joanna. Rose. Amanda Nunes. Cyborg.
I don't see paying for promotion or doing photo shoots or featuring them on their channel or having interviews on ESPN or on Press Row, or I don't see the UFC doing that for any female currently.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, and look,
When's
you're not.
the last time? The last time I heard a female MMA interview on mainstream ESPN was Ronda Rousey 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you're not. Look, you're not wrong. I think that there is some sexism going on, but who would I market? I can tell you who I would give that extra marketing push to. 100%. It's Aspen Ladd.
Oh, here we go.
No, it's hot. Wow. Okay, why? Because Aspen Ladd is a future champion. It's simple. So you want to promote
who's injured and just got knocked out
by Jermaine Durandamy, who's a 47-year-old Netherlands police officer.
Well, that's hard to. So you're saying that that's marketable, that she's lost to that?
I mean, in 2 years, Jermaine Durandamy will be well over 65 years old. So she's going to have to retire. I mean, she's near death at her elderly age. And Aspen will become the new face of the 135 bantamweights because she's super tough and also super cool and kind of a babe, and I'm in love with her, whatever. But anyways, it should be Aspen Ladd.
Yeah, I don't really see that one. I'm kind of just scanning right now to give you my best possible answer. And I would have to say probably Amanda Ribas. I know they already
no. That was the second. By the way, that was the second name I had in mind.
But again, we don't know how good Amanda Ribas is. She's
Ribas was the second name I had in mind, so I think that's a good pick.
If she were to become a champion, clearly they would push her. But I don't know if her floating around 7, 8, 9, they're going to start pushing her, more than just a little bit. She clearly has,
Well, she's very good, and she happens to be, ridiculously adorable. So that helps.
There's one who's really young and kind of unheralded that I want to call out, Miranda Maverick. She landed that up elbow. I think that's a young female fighter that they could get behind and start marketing, not as like a headliner right now, but start building and potentially could have something later on down the road.
She started following me, and I'm ashamed to say this. At first, I was like, who's this? What is this, some PFL fighter? Of course, I did my research quickly and immediately followed back, but totally agree with you. Miranda Maverick, definitely looking promising going forward. In terms of male fighters, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, bro, but look, I'm going to go ahead and say Joaquin Buckley. He's had 2 highlight finishes in the last, 3 months? Give that guy some marketing.
100%. He's a good one. Or, based on this guy's next performance, Yuri Prochaska could
he's ranked, though. He's ranked. That doesn't fit.
So we're saying unranked.
It's got to be unranked, yeah.
All right, well, let me go back a little bit then. Unranked guy.
Oh, wait, shoot, I made that part up.
Okay. I thought you did.
Yeah, it's because Aspen's definitely ranked. Shoot.
Right. So.
Okay.
Yeah, those are some names right there.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, all right, so are we moving on?
Yep.
Okay, this is from my man, Mixta Doo King of Slams. That's at Mixta Man. Love this guy. Close personal friend of mine. Looks like Mr. Clean. Very young, very fit, with a shaved head. So please make fun of him for that. He says, who's going to surprise us the most in 2021 and how? #AskSplitPod. That's a fun question. I love it.
Yep, it is fun.
So who's going to surprise us the most? All right, ready? I got an answer ready for you. Brian Ortega. I think Ortega is going to get the Volkanovski title fight. I think he'll be overall, mostly dismissed in terms of his chances. And I think he's going to win. So, Brian Ortega.
Interesting. I don't really. That's a tough one, man. There's so many guys. I'm going to go with Marvin Vettori. I'm going to say he rides that wave.
Okay, so how far do you see him going in 2021 then?
Getting back to a title shot.
All right, fascinating. Do you think it'll be against Izzy, or is Izzy done with middleweight?
Well, that could be tough because I kind of could see a situation where if Izzy goes up, gets Jan, he could become the 205-pound champ and then be dealing with John, and then that could take years to develop. So that would vacate the top of the division, which would open it. And I could honestly see Robert Whittaker and Marvin Vettori fighting for that vacant title next year.
Wow, real talk. Whitaker versus Vittori. Ooh, man! That gets
Oh, you
me.
like that one, huh?
Oh, I love.
I mean, I've always been a big Vettori fan. You know, I was just thought that it may be a little too much this weekend, but what he showed is that he can kind of stick to the game plan, stay behind his punches, and not get too reckless and bro-ish in there. And I was really impressed. The fact that he's only 27, he's just coming into his physical prime, and the fact that he's with Rafael Cordero, he's got a good camp, he's learning, he's improving. Definitely see him going big places next year.
Yeah, and can we quickly talk about how his nickname is the Italian Dream? That is the
Love
most.
it.
That is
Love
a
it.
horrible. You love it?
Love it. What do you mean?
No, I hate it. It's
Why?
the most
He needs
unfitting nickname.
No, it's not.
He
the
is a
Italian
villain,
Dream.
bro. He's a heel. He should be called the Cobra or
No, the
Vicious
Cobra? What
Vicious.
is that? What is that? The default name in UFC
Vicious,
4? The
Vicious
Cobra?
Marvin Vittori, or I mean, he needs a villain name.
I completely disagree. I think he should keep his hair in the
Italian
Dream,
Dream, bro. Come on.
The Italian, like the Italian Stallion, but the Italian Dream, the American Dream, the Italian Dream, Marvin Vittori.
The Italian Stallion, Rocky's nickname is a lot cooler, just for the record.
Well, he couldn't take the Italian Stallion, so he had to come. You don't like the Italian Dream, really? I like it.
No, I don't like it. I think it's. I just think it's not fitting. That's all. I don't know. I think he should be.
Know where he's from.
He should be Vicious Marvin Vittori. He should be.
Ooh, Vicious Marvin Vittori. You're getting into little wrestling heel though. It's getting a
No,
too
I
much.
mean, well, that's what he is. He's a heel.
I don't know if I guess he is a heel, but I don't see him in the
And
same way.
he's a fun heel. He's a fun heel
yeah,
too.
he's not like a Paulo Costa heel.
No, he's more fun than that. He's a great heel. I just think they need to embrace it and give him a better nickname that's more like evil.
Well, you don't get to just change your nicknames, Phil.
I understand. I just think.
All right.
Okay.
Let's keep it moving.
All right, you got a question?
Sure, I got one from King Richard. I love this one.
King Richard, what up?
He says, if you could make a dream card for a UFC event, what would the five fights you put down? All fighters can be in their prime, and you can choose fighters from any era. No freak show fights, catch weight, or crazy weight changes. I love this, and I took it seriously. You got any fights you want to call out before I get to my list, or should I go?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure you did more research than me on this one. Didn't have the time.
Let me go then, so you don't steal mine.
Well, no, hang on. I want to start off with some stuff.
Okay.
Adesanya versus Jones.
Okay.
For the light heavyweight belt is the first one. Tony Ferguson versus Conor McGregor for the lightweight belt is the second. The third is Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski 3. I don't care that Volkanovski technically won 2 of them. Run it back. We all know why. That's all I got.
So out of all your dream fights, you'd pick all active fighters, not anybody from other eras?
That's correct.
All right. So here, I really thought about it. So the first fight on the card of mine would be Demetrius Johnson versus Fito. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah, and then I would see Matt Hughes versus Nick Diaz. Then do Randy Couture versus Daniel Cormier.
Couture would get whooped, bro. Seriously?
We're talking prime to prime. I want to see it.
I know, but I mean, dude.
And yes, I agree. DC would be favored in that fight.
DC would whoop Randy's ass, bro.
And then in the co-main, I would want to see versus Prime Chuck Liddell.
Wait, what was that first name?
John Jones versus Prime Chuck Liddell.
Ooh, all right.
And then for the main event, I would want the one that got away, Khabib versus Tony.
Yeah, damn, man. Mm, yeah. Do you think Khabib fights Tony if Tony beats Charles?
No, I think that's gone.
I don't know,
I
man.
think
I do think that I think Khabib won't say it. I think deep down, he knows there's unfinished business with Tony. He wants to see what happens. Maybe
well,
I'm
yeah,
wrong.
Has to prove it though, you know.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I know, and we'll see. But I don't know if beating Charles is enough to entice Khabib.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Okay.
They haven't announced Paul versus Connor for a belt at all, right?
Yeah, they've definitely not announced that for a belt, which frankly
So,
I
so
love
that
that.
means Khabib is
I love
technically
that it's
still
not a belt.
holding the belt and has not been stripped, right?
Right. And I love that decision by Dana.
They should give him, a half year, a
Absolutely.
year.
I mean, and Dana probably knows deep down that Dustin versus Connor didn't feel right for the lightweight title, regardless. And I really respect that.
For sure. All right, let's get another one going.
All right, all right. So really quick, let's go through the questions. This is from Oscar Silva at WWE UFC _fan. What's up, Oscar? He says, "Do you believe Izzy will ever get a win via submission?" It's a great question. It really is a great question.
And I do. I think eventually.
You think he will?
Yeah, for sure.
The only reason that I think he won't, the only reason I think he won't fight Geek is just because I'm thinking, okay, he's already the champ. He's about to try to become double champ. Is he really going to go for a submission against, these really top tier opponents?
Well, think about it this way. Someone big and strong like Jan may get on top of him, and Izzy would have an opportunity to submit him from the bottom.
That's true.
So, I would think Izzy fighting against larger opponents who could impose their will on him would open up the opportunity for submission. Is he going to submit John Jones? Absolutely not. But could he submit someone like Jan Blachowicz? 100%.
All right. Fair enough. All
right. We got another one queued up from Shakar Singh.
Shakar, what up, bro?
He says, will UFC book Gaethje versus Tony rematch if Tony defeats Oliveira? Good question. What do you think there?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that if Tony defeats Oliveira, then... look, it depends, Shakar. It depends. It's a great question. I don't think so just because I would think that if Tony defeats Oliveira, that, a lot of pressure is going to be on Khabib to accept the Tony fight, frankly. I understand Khabib is saying he's retired, such and such. So if Khabib truly retires and vacates the belt, I still have trouble seeing Tony versus Justin. Here's why. Because I think if Tony beats Charles and then they have Connor versus Dustin, it's very hard to imagine that Dana won't make those, the winners of those two bouts fight for the lightweight title. That obviously excludes Justin Gaethje.
That would give the title much more credibility also, having Tony coming back off a win, and then having Connor or Dustin coming back off a huge highlight win, just based on the fact that we're all going to be watching. That'll be a big event. So that would line up for the winner of the Tony Oliveira and exactly as you said. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, and by the way, slight side note, can you imagine Ferguson versus McGregor for the belt? That's been my dream fight for a while.
It would be madness for sure. So
I've wanted to see that fight for so long. I would love it. I would love nothing more.
Imagine if it ended up being Oliveira versus Poirier.
Yeah, that would piss me off. I won't lie.
That'd be a little less sexy, right?
It'd be less sexy than Ferguson McGregor.
For sure. All right, so I think we're done with our Twitter questions, unless you see any more.
I think we are. It's time for those audio questions.
All right, so I got one queued up from Jim Assoon.
Jim Assoon, what up?
Here we go.
What's going on, you bunch of fucking casuals? Bill, Mike Geek, hope you're both doing well. Question for you this week. You take the
Good question.
Love it. He's asking for the top 4 managers, and
Yeah.
the
toughest manager.
I can barely name 4, bro. Ali
I'll just
Abdelaziz.
tell you who the toughest one is, in my opinion. Tiki Ghostin, the manager he was the manager for Rampage and a couple other guys. Used to be a former fighter.
Yeah.
Put my money on Tiki.
All right, we've got Ali Abdelaziz, who used to be a fighter, relatively poor one. We've got the Kawa brothers, Abraham and Malky, who were both about probably 175 pounds overweight from the heavyweight limit. And then we've got Audi Attar, who's probably maybe 30 pounds over from the heavyweight limit. So just based on that, I'm going to say Tiki number 1, Ali number 2, just because I know he was a failed fighter and I've seen him at least get submitted by Daniel Cormier, which means something. So that's number 2. Number 3 being the non-Kawa brother that I just named, Connor's agent. I forget his name. He looks like a sleazy Italian restaurant owner. Audi Attar, yep.
Audi Attar, yeah.
Yeah, I'd put him as number 3, and then number 4 I would keep blank, as I can't put the obese Kawa brothers on there as they are obese.
Okay. Well, you said it. All right, I got another one queued up from Kairos.
Kairos, what up? Love Kairos. Guys, follow Kairos if you ain't.
What's going on, Fight Geek? What's going on, Phil? Listen, Phil, we got to get down to the bottom of this right now. What is it going to take for you to become a fan of John Jones? What does he have to do in your eyes for you to become a fan of him? Fight Geek, who is your least favorite fighter? And what do they have to do in your eyes to become your favorite fighter? We got to get down to this right now. We got to stop the hate. The timeline is bleeding. People are blocking each other. The hate has got to stop. So, what do they got to do?
Woo! I love it. I love it. It's so good. What a good question. Is that the best question I've ever gotten?
It's a tough one. I'm trying to think of fighters I hate. All right, go ahead with your John Jones rant. What would John Jones have to do to get back in your good graces, if that's even possible?
So on a real serious note, I've been asked this before more privately. It's a great question. For John, people have said, is there anything Jones can do for you to list him as the GOAT, as the greatest of all time? The answer is yes, there is. If he wins that heavyweight belt, I'll have no choice but to list him as the greatest of all time. In terms of what can he do to make me become a fan of him, the answer is absolutely nothing. I will burn at the stake. You'll have to burn me alive, and I'll still disrespect his name. I will absolutely die before I root for him, 100%, and I will never, ever be a fan of his, no matter what.
Huh. So I guess the hate's not going to stop with you.
The hate will never stop, and there's nothing he can do. But if he wins the heavyweight belt, I'll have to declare him the GOAT.
Well, I don't really hate any fighters, but, Henry Cejudo, for a guy who retired at the top of his game, is incredibly obnoxious with the way he's always inserting himself. I think he called out Logan or Jake Paul today.
He's so
I think he said he wanted an intergender fight with Valentina Shevchenko.
I mean, that was kind of funny at the time. I laughed at that at the time, but the fact that the dude's father, the dude's father came over illegally through the country, and he was out campaigning with Trump, so he can die tomorrow for all I care.
Well, that's a little extreme, but yeah, I think I think he's a great fighter, but his gimmick got old with me quick. You know what he could do to get me back in his good graces? Come back, fight the murderers row of guys waiting for him. The Yawns, the Moreno's, the Figueiredos, the TJ at 135 when he comes back. He says, he's the greatest combat athlete of all time, which there may be a little bit of truth to that, but come back and prove it versus this murderer's row that's still waiting for you,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I may become a fan of his again because I think his gimmick is trash.
Yeah, I think he's a trash fighter, and most of all, I think we are at that time. Take it away, Fight Geek.
All right, guys, as usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We are at Split_podcast. It's 4 words, the Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.